Okay. What's up, guys? So I'm not doing the normal webinar live as we normally do every Sunday, but I still wanted to give you guys something to look over and review as you're preparing for the week. Um, so basically what we're going to be going over today is market structure. I didn't think this is necessary for a full webinar either because I don't think it will take that much time to go over. So I'm going to add a text box here and we're just going to kind of dive into it if I can figure out how to do it. So, what we're looking at for market structure is basically we want to see there's three different types of markets. There's an uptrend, there's a downtrend, and then from there, there's a ranging market. So, we'll kind of just go through and identify these. So, basically, what an uptrend looks like is higher highs followed by lower highs, or sorry, lower highs. I get that mixed up a little bit. But so basically in an uptrend, what you're going to want to be looking for is higher highs followed by lower highs. And so the next thing we want to look at is when we're looking at a downtrend, the next thing we want to focus on is it's going to have lower lows and lower highs. So this is a downtrend, and we'll go over what it actually looks like in a moment. But that's the basic concept of these two things. Ranging market means basically chop. So there's no strategy that is going to get you to make money when you're strictly buying option contracts. So if you're buying calls, buying puts, you should not be trading in chop. That's when you preserve capital. So like for example, all last week I literally took two trades on Friday. And that was because market was ranging majority of the week. It was being choppy, waiting for the Fed news, stuff like that. And it's better to just preserve your capital. And one of the things that kind of stuck with me that I learned was not putting your money into a setup that is not your setup is basically like putting money in your bank account, because you're going to be losing money if you're trying to just trade whatever and not taking your own defined setup. So chop. So this is basically no trend, and for high reference, no trading. So we'll go through and identify some examples of each of these, but we're going to have this text box here so you guys have this to see and kind of just go with. So these are the main points we want to make here. So this is what we're focusing on. I will add to it as we go. But so first thing, uptrend. So an uptrend is going to look like this. Here, so this is the basic of what an uptrend will look like. So you're going to have a series of higher highs and higher lows. So here's a high, here's a higher low, here's a higher high, higher low, lower low, or sorry, higher high, lower high, and so forth. So basically, this is your typical uptrend. So something like this is what we're looking for in an uptrend. And so basically, we're going to get into how to identify these things. So this whole concept of higher highs, higher lows, uptrend, downtrend, ranging markets, this is understanding basic market structure, and it's essential to know when you're trying to trade, because I see a lot of people trying to buy calls when we're in a clear downtrend, and I see a lot of people trying to buy puts to catch the top on an uptrend. This is not the way to trade, and I'll show you guys the way I do it, which I find is the most effective way to find a trend change. And so if you notice that when we go through and when we have these higher highs and higher lows, a lot of the times what's going to happen is it's going to create this high, pull back, break above it, and then a lot of the times it's going to come and retest. And what do you know? That's where our entry is going to be. So, and then that next target will be the next high. So higher high, higher low, and then it comes back to retest that higher high that was previous and creates a lower low. So message me in the chat if you guys have questions on this, but I think it is pretty self-explanatory. You want to be following the trend. When people say the trend is your friend, literally this is what it means. You're going to want to trade with the trend until the quote unquote market structure changes. So next thing we want to go over is, okay, what does a downtrend look like? So a downtrend looks like, I'm going to delete these here. A downtrend looks like this. So you're going to have a low, a lower high, a low, another lower high, followed by another low, a lower high, and then so on and so forth. This is how you want to trade. And same idea, when we break the low, a lot of times it's going to come retest that low, and that's where we're going to take our entry. Okay? Same thing here. Same thing here. A lot of times it will come retest that low, just like this. And then a lot of times this is where I love to take my entry. And then we look for a move back to this previous low here. And we catch the move, and that's where you leave runners and you can let it keep going. So that's basically what trends look like. So next, what we want to talk about is, okay, so that's how we take our trades. When we take our trades, what we're going to be doing is, what I do personally is we take the entry here. We take entries here, because this is the highest probability spot to get into a trade. If you're a breakout trader, and let's say you take the breakout on a downtrend, you're most likely, you take your entry when it breaks below here, you're probably going to get stopped out on this pullback, because most people are breakout traders, and I do not play breakouts. I follow the trend. I wait for the breakout and wait for the retest, which ultimately the retest is a lower high or a higher low. So I'm just following the trend and preceding the trend and continuing to follow it until that trend gives me a reason not to be in it anymore. So furthermore, we go and look, we go to basically, now we're going to talk about what that actually looks like on the chart. So we talked about an uptrend. You can see that here, where we created an uptrend. Higher high, higher low, higher high. You could even call these divots here higher highs, but just for the sake of it, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And you can see it starts to get smaller when that trend starts to weaken. But we continue to follow this trend, and look at how many different times you could have played this same exact thing over and over and over again until ultimately the trend was broken, right? So then we had a break of the trend. Okay, so how do we know when the trend changes, right? So first thing, we have the uptrend. We know that the uptrend continues this way, but how do we know when it breaks? Structure is broken when previous higher low is broken. Okay, so that's where we would take our entry for puts. That's when we would begin to start looking for puts. And we'll go into that more, but I'm going to put the same thing down here. Structure is broken. Oh, man. Structure broken when previous lower high is broken. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to talk about this. So what does this look like? I'm going to show you a downtrend real quick, and then we're going to go into what that actually will look like. So here's the start of a downtrend, right? And then we go here. Here's our higher high or our lower high, lower low, lower high. Now this is considered a ranging market. So yeah, we had a downtrend start, right? Where you could have played it 1, 2 times. And then we have reached a point where it's ranging. So now what would happen is a lot of traders, what I was looking for personally, is we had this rally up, which in this case broke the previous higher low, broke the previous higher low, which is this area right here. So basically what happened is we were creating this market structure of lower low, higher low, lower low, higher low. And then we broke this higher low. So that's what we're describing here. Structure is broken when a lower high is broken. So this lower high was broken. But then if you go and notice, this is ultimately, you didn't have to call this, where was the lower low retested? Right here. So some people, I think the market can fake some people out and they try to do this is because this was the real retest of what we're talking about here. This retest here, where we came down and came back up here, this was the real retest. Some people might get stuck in this smaller trend here, but this is what the real trend we're looking for is. Let me delete this so it makes it clear. So this was our lower low, lower high. Ultimately came down when you're looking at the bigger time frames, lower low. And then you can see where we broke it here on this time frame. Now this is, I'm not going to lie, this is a little more difficult to see on the lower time frames. But one thing that I do want to get across is, even so, if you were looking at this trade, right? You're looking at this. We had a break here. I'm sure a lot of people are going to wonder, okay, well, why wouldn't you have called this a break of structure here, where it came down and broke this lower high right here? Okay, so basically it did. That's correct. It did break this lower high. Ultimately, on lower time frames, this structure was broken because this lower high was broken here. So what we want to look for, though, is when we do take this, we want to look for the retest. We wait on the retest to see if it'll hold, and it didn't hold. It broke back down, came and retested it again, and then ultimately broke to the downside. But one part of it is that, okay, this is why we don't take breakouts, because they end up being wrong. And then that's why we want to look at higher time frames. So we go look at the 4 hour. And as you can see, this trend becomes a lot more clear. If it gets a little foggy for you, just head up to the higher time frames. lower low, lower high, lower low, even call it right there. There's the lower high, which ultimately retested this area right here. So if we draw this zone, came and retested that and ultimately broke down. We're still in a downtrend. You got to continue to follow that trend until it's broken. So, somewhere where we want to see a break of trend, a good example of this. So now what we want to see is when we go through this, we want to go back down to the 1 hour and we're going to talk about how to catch reversals in the proper way with the higher or with the highest probability. So we take reversal trades when the structure is broken. Okay, so what that looks like would be here. So not paying attention to this overall chart, right? We're paying attention to this mock graph here that I drew up. So we're in a clear uptrend, right? What we want to look for is we're making the higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Now, what we want to see is for this to be broken, for us to take entry of puts. So what we would want to see for this trend to change is for the stock to come down, break this higher low, come back up, retest this area for an entry to take puts to go lower. That's the only way we're going to enter puts here. Everything else is we're playing calls on this uptrend. Okay, so now what would we do if we were looking at the opposite direction? Puts, right? Because right now we're in a downtrending market. So now we want to focus on how would we take the reversal on a downtrend, because ultimately that's what we're in. That's what's applicable right now. We need to see a break of this higher low. So here's the higher low. So what we want to see for a break in market structure is we want to see the stock to move up, break this lower high. You want to see it break this lower high. You want to see it come down, retest that area to confirm it that it's starting a new trend, and then we catch the move up. So in this example, where you could have gotten faked out over here, what happened is that, yes, we made our lower low here, right? Or even here. And then we broke above this lower low or lower high. I'm sorry. I struggle with the terminology here. But we came down, we broke this higher low. And then basically we had that move up. But what do we want to see here? We see this break. We want to see it retest here. Retest this area right here. It failed it. So now we know, okay, this was a fake out. All those breakout traders, market makers were trying to fake them out and basically make them get into call positions just to bring the price back down and stop them out. So that's what we're looking for. We want to see that retest, a confirmation of that hold, and then we get in the trade. That's why we play retest. That's why I play retest, because I want that extra confirmation of a healthy trend, not trying to catch the break above, but trying to get an even better entry at the area that I'm looking at in the first place. The whole reason I'm taking this trade is because of this level. So I'm going to wait for it to break above and show me that that level still matters and that it's going to be held to continue to the upside. So I hope this makes sense. I hope you're understanding this. So let's look at a example of where market structure had actually been broken. So I'm going to delete these real quick. So an example of where market structure is broken, and I'll show you an example of a choppy market too. We go to a lower time frame, they're easier to see, where it's just ranging and doing nothing. This right here is a ranging market where it's not a consistent pattern. That's where we want to wait for confirmation of somewhere it's going to go. Same thing here. There's no real trend. There's no higher high, higher low stuff going on. We want to wait for the confirmation of trend. And notice that we have this area, this level right here. And when we broke it, we came down and retested it and ultimately continued to push higher. That's what we want to see. So that's an example of a ranging market. What we were in earlier this week was an example of a ranging market. This is chop right here. This is chop. We want to wait for a break and retest of this area to enter. And this was our retest right there. That hourly candle right there is a prime example. We chopped around, chop, 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 broke that area, broke this whole range that it was in, as you can see. Broke this area, came back, retested it with a long wick above, and then we had our move down. That's the trades we're trying to enter. You want to wait for this chop to play out. This was two full days of trading right here. Just sitting and waiting, sitting on the sidelines, waiting for this to finally pick a direction for us to enter. So it would be a really easy entry. There's two options here. We wait for it to break out above, come back down, and guess what? Take the retest, and you take that trade to the upside. Or in this example, we had the breakdown, we had the retest, and then we had the move down. I hope you're following this so far. I know there's a lot of drawings on here, but I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. So yeah, that's what we want to see. Now, a good example of where we have this range break or where we have a trend reversal is, so we have a lower low, lower high, lower low, continued, breaking down, couldn't break above. This is where market structure would have been broken, correct? So some people probably took calls here, right? Because they saw this lower low broken, which would be, for this example, that would be the same thing as taking calls when this level broke here. So where people took calls, people probably took calls and entered here because we broke this lower low, but trend did not change. We came up and retested this area right here and ultimately continued down. This area right here is the same as this right here. And we ultimately had to move straight back down. Now, when should we really have entered this trade? When structure is completely broken. So, for example, we had the higher low here. We can go to the 4 hour to make it even more obvious. I'll draw it out for you so you can see it. There, 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 there. still continued structure here and ultimately continued down here. You can see it. Boom, 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 boom. And then this structure was broken when this right here was broken. This higher, when the lower high was broken. Previous structures broken when the lower high is broken. So this is the lower high, the most recent lower high. Or you could even call it here, and that would have given you a better entry. So let's drill down. Let's draw this level here, and then look at what the chart looks like here. Go to the 1 hour. Came down, had a perfect retest, and ultimately started its uptrend. So now if you go and you notice, when did we have market structure change in this most recent example of what we're looking at in the market right now? When do we have that change? I'll show you. This is the most obvious higher low. So obvious higher low, higher low, higher low. This is an obvious higher low. Notice when we broke this area, you can draw it as a zone if you wanted to. Came back. So when we broke it, we broke, we retested, and then we continued to have our move down. So this is where structure was broken. So all this time you could have been waiting and waiting for this structure to change and then had played your move. So I hope this makes sense. If you guys have questions, let me know. But the main thing you want to focus on is playing this trend. You don't have to catch these trend changes. It can be just as simple as following the trend. And then when a clear trend is created, continue to follow it until it gives you a reason of that this structure was broken or this structure was broken in an uptrend. So this is what you need to pay attention to here, and to make sure that you're getting really good entries when you're taking a trade that are highest probability trades, and then go from there and continue to grow from there. So let me know if you have questions. This will be in the webinar recordings tab. I'll have it posted there, and we can do another class on this. I think it will be beneficial just to continue to review examples of where trend changes happen. So thank you guys. Hope you guys have an awesome trading week, and we'll get after it on Monday.